Hey everyone, how you doing? So I'm going to do something a little different today. So since you've already looked through chapters 9 and 10, I'm going to just go ahead and answer the questions you asked. I thought that might be a better use of our time today. So I'm going to scroll up here to the first question. By the way, these were all really good questions, so I really liked reading through them. Okay, first question. I'm curious to know if a child could nearly perfectly describe what they saw to an adult around the ages of 2 or 6. Um, Probably not. Children, do have memory, but memory, becomes better through maturation. So as we get older, we're able to remember more complex things, more details, that sort of thing. So a child whose age is 2 to 6, like in a court system, oftentimes a judge will not ask a child to the stand because they are not good recallers of information. So do children at this age know how to express their feelings? Yes, they do. They can express their feelings. They don't always understand those feelings, but they do express them. So oftentimes, children will just cry over any feeling they might be experiencing. In a bilingual home, can the child be stressed if he hears his preschool teacher speak a different language than the one they learned at home? Yes, it can be stressful. I mean, just imagine yourself in a place where you don't understand anything that's being said. That can be stressful. Um, so, why are most children afraid of socializing with other preschool children? Developmentally, this is just a stage that most children go through. Especially kids who are new to a preschool. It's a new environment, it's a new experience. It's the first time away from mom or dad, so it's a bit stressful. Is it true that younger children express their feelings more often than older children who press their feelings and learn to handle it? Um, Younger children do express their emotions more openly, but older children will as well. But as they get older, due to maturation, due to experience, they are able to handle some situations much better so they don't express their feelings as they did when they were younger. Why do children, as they get older, have more self control? Um, if they do have more self control as they get older, it's because when they were babies, they learned to self regulate. That's when self control actually starts. Self regulation is very important, and it's a skill that we need to learn as babies and practice as we move along through childhood so that when we are adults, we'll be able to handle stressful situations. Next question. Why do some children look more mature than others? Is it influenced by behavior? Um, this is an interesting question. Some children look more mature because they just have more mature features. Genetically, their features cause them to appear older than they are. Um, some children look more mature because their parents um, dress them to look more mature. They, create an environment where it's expected to maybe look more mature. So really, it's just our experience, it's our environment, it's the people we live with, it's genetics, combination of all of that. Zona proximal development. Does the child learn skills from people they know or just from people they see, like when going out with their families? Or can they learn them from interacting with anybody? So if you recall, the zona proximal development is that period, or not period, it's that stage where we understand a skill here and mastering the skill is over here, and in between is the zona proximal development. And we can learn that from anywhere. Most often we do learn it at home with our parents or significant caretaker. Why does there seem to be an increasing trend to learn academics earlier and reduce play, even though there is proof more play is better for children? Um, there are many other countries where their children are academically superior to us, and they tend to focus on academics early. Um, so I believe that is part of the reason why they're trying to focus more attention on academics earlier. But from a developmental standpoint, a lot of children aren't ready to learn academic skills until they're actually 6 or 7 years old. Um, so play is a child's work. Play is an opportunity for a child to learn, to engage, to learn social skills. Um, I can't stress the importance of play. Question, how does rough and tumble play affect prefrontal cortex development positively? Rough and tumble play, actually, it sounds like it could be aggressive, and it can be, but it can affect us positively because we're learning how to socialize with one another. We're learning empathy. We're learning compassion, and these are all things that will be useful in our prefrontal cortex as we're developing, because that is the area that handles responsibility, decision making, judgment, those sorts of things. So that's how it can affect us positively. Why young children cannot apply their impressive new linguistic ability to comprehend reality. Children's reality is not our reality. Children's reality is based on their experiences, their stage of development, their age, and it's different. We should not expect a 2 to 6 year old to fully understand an adult reality. It's not healthy. Why the children are egocentric when they are little? Again, it's a developmental stage, mostly around age 2, 3 years old. Kids are very much about themselves, and the world revolves around them. Why do kids create imaginary friends? Why not? 2 to 6 year olds they're just creating. They're able to just really express themselves when we talk about imagination. Dress up play, that sort of thing. Pretend play, and creating imaginary friends is just part of that. A lot of kids have imaginary friends. There's nothing wrong with that. Oftentimes an imaginary friend will actually be that figure that can provide comfort to a child as well. Why do kids name their toys? Again, why not? Kids see toys oftentimes as real, that they're alive, and it's important to name them because anything that's alive needs to have a name. At what age do children develop empathy? They start developing that around age 2. And as they, grow older, it becomes, more, it shows more. Yeah. So in chapter 10, I read that young children are usually proud of being themselves and proud of doing cultural things like wearing clothes from their culture. Most of the time, it's the parents that get them into the cultural things. Like when my 3 daughters start dancing folklorica, I put each of them in at about age 4. So the question is, at about what age do children start doing it for themselves and not the parents? If your question is, when do kids become more independent? Around age 7 is when we start having more logical thought. It's also a time when we're able to make more sense out of the world. It's a time when we're able to make some decisions about what we really like and don't like. So around age 7. But, bottom line is you can want a child to do something very badly for yourself, and they just might simply not like it. And if they don't like the activity, they're not going to want to initiate that in their future. What does learning actually look like in a Reggio Emilia formatted class? Amazing. Reggio Emilia classes are very art forward. They're very much media forward. It's all about it's child initiated. So meaning, what the majority of kids in the classroom are interested in at any given time is what the focus in the classroom is. So for instance, if they're studying spiders, then the teacher will help develop um, a curriculum around spiders, but she will ask questions of the kids. She wants to know what the kids want to learn. She wants to know what do they already know about spiders. And they create this web. It kind of looks like a spider web. You've got the middle, and in the middle you write down spiders. And when the kids start giving responses to, what do they know about spiders, she starts writing those in. And, after a whole classroom full of information, it looks like a spider web. And they use different forms of media to take pictures of spiders, videos, and the kids are doing this. Um, Drawing pictures, and everything they do, the teacher asks the child to describe what they did, and the teacher writes down exactly word for word what they say, and that goes with their presentation. So it's pretty cool. Between the ages of 3 and 12, children become better liars. Is that action they acquired from over imitation? If they're watching a lot of people in their home lying constantly about things, and people are being outed and told that's a lie and this is a lie, or maybe somebody's encouraging the child to lie, yes, it could be imitation. But children early on, 3-4-year-olds, they're actually demonstrating what we call theory of mind. Oftentimes their lies are really their reality. They might have done something wrong, and they're going to say, well, mom said I could X, Y, Z, and mom never said that. But in the child's mind, the mom should have agreed with the child. So in their mind, the mom did say it. So, but as they get older and as they mature and as they have more life experiences, and as their brain matures, as they have more logical thought, they are able to become better liars. But it's not a predictor of ending up in jail someday either. Next question. Can too much solitary play, unlocked play, and parallel play affect the way a child acts around other kids when having an interaction? Any kind of play will not have a bad outcome. Kids need to play. Play is child's work. And so these kinds of play will happen. It's developmental, from solitary play all the way to cooperative play. So the question is, can too much affect the way a child acts around other kids? No, absolutely not. Let's see, how come some children are quickly adapt to different language unlike adults? Because adults have already established their primary language, and when they try to learn a new language, they're in full competition with the language that's already been stored in their brain. Children, on the other hand, are not born with a specific language. They're born with the ability to develop a language, and that could be any language. So if a child is learning English and Spanish at the same time, they're going to be able to learn English and Spanish at the same time. Their brain is capable of making all of those connections when they're young. So that is the reason. Would you say spanking can be appropriate at a certain age if done rarely? My answer is no. Spanking, and research will back this up, spanking just leads to kids um, believing that, when they hit someone else, it's going to solve a problem, and it doesn't. I've asked many students over the years who have children that when they spank their child at home, does that child ever do that behavior again? And almost every time they say yes. So my belief is if a child's going to stop a behavior by being spanked, they stop it. But evidently they don't. So no. Does onlooker play have a harmful effect on a child's social development? Absolutely not. Onlooker play is one of those developmental stages of play. So it's very normal and will not harm them. Okay, next question. Since children attempt to explain everything they see and hear, where do their theories come from and where does their imagination come from? Experiences, opportunity, it comes from genetics, it comes from biology, it just comes from life. I mean, that's where children's what you call theories come from, the things they believe. And imagination is the same. It's, kids develop imaginations. It is a developmental thing. They start, when they're very young, a block could be an airplane and it's flying through the air. That's imagination. And that's just how kids think at that, between 2 and 6. As they get closer to 6, they are starting to think a little bit more logically and able to make a little more sense out of the world, but they still have an imagination. So, next question. At what age does a bilingual child learn how to code switch and how does that work? Code switching can happen on age 5 or 6. And really, it's a child who has learned at least 2 languages, bilingual. So in this case, let's say English and Spanish. So how does it work? The brain can switch on both languages at the same time. So they might start a sentence in English and insert Spanish at a certain point. And they're just able to switch back and forth. What influences matureness in children? Environment and experiences. It's that simple. Well, not that simple. It's genetics as well. Why is it that children rarely play, predict emotional and academic problems? Oh, I see. So kids that don't play a lot, why does it predict emotional and academic problems? When children play, they are learning social skills development, they're learning language, they're learning how to self-regulate, and these are all important things as we get older to be able to handle emotional situations. And when we're unable to handle emotional situations well, it can lead to academic problems. So it's very important that children do play and go through the stages of play, from solitary play to playing with other kids. Why is the tendency of children to copy an action that is not a relevant part of the behavior to be learned? Because children are going to pick up on things that they understand. So if you're trying to teach them something that is beyond what they know, or if it's a new concept, they're going to focus their attention on something that is familiar to them. Okay, researchers recognize 4 general types of aggression: instrumental, reactive, relational, and bullying. Is it possible for there to be more types of aggressions, or would they just fall into one of these categories? They would fall into one of these categories. You can take any kind of aggressive behavior, and I can assure you that it would fall into one of these 4 categories. What is the most effective form of discipline that won't negatively affect a child? Let me start with this. We want to try to avoid teaching our kids to have bad behaviors. We want, and one of the ways to do that really is to reinforce them when they're doing good things. which we as humans are very bad at. When our kids do something positive, when they do something well, we need to notice that. And some of the simplest things, maybe they picked up after themselves, maybe they cleaned up a mess without asking, and we need to reinforce that. We need to tell them, good job, thank you, way to go, pat on the back kind of thing. That goes a long ways, because as humans we have a tendency to focus our attention on negative behavior. So the class clown, the person that's throwing pencils, whatever, we focus our attention on them, and that attention is attention. So we are reinforcing their bad behavior. So I always like to start off with, first we need to really try to teach ourselves to reinforce good behavior in kids. So what's the most effective form of discipline? It varies. I mean, timeout works on some kids, doesn't work on other kids. Removing a toy from their possession. These days, parents take away, technology. I think the most important form of discipline is letting children know the behavior they did is wrong, and then give an explanation as to why it's wrong, and then to talk about consequences of their behavior with them. So they understand that what they did and why they did it, what the consequences were, it hurt somebody's feelings, or it actually hurt somebody, whatever. That those are things that are not acceptable. People don't like it, and so on. I think we need to use more communication with our kids, and we need to quit demonstrating, quit showing them so much bad behavior in this world. Watching bad movies, listening to songs that condone violence, violence in the home, siblings who are violent. This kind of stuff causes us to do things we don't want to do. And parents struggle with discipline. So I think discipline really starts with communication when they're babies, and talking to them and interacting with them and so on. All right, so Monday we have a quiz, and I will post this video tonight. I will post the quiz on Monday. I'm going to give you until Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. to finish it. So I miss you guys. I wish we were doing this in person, and I wish you guys continued luck. Good night.